The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Writer's Block Podcast NH. This is a podcast designed by writers for writers on the journey to being published. Joined Mandra Biscornet.
It was so healthy and nutritious.
Deborah Monk.
Can we open each podcast with a dance number?
Shelley Devlin.
It was so full of inspiration and sparkles.
Every Tuesday morning live on YouTube. And make sure you subscribe to catch the podcast anytime on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, or your favorite podcast catcher. It's time to be inspired, feel empowered, and be well with the Writer's Block Podcast NH.
Good morning and welcome to the Writer's Block Podcast. I'm Debbie.
I'm Mandra. And I'm Shelley.
Want to thank you for joining us this morning, where our mission is to inspire, empower, and help people be well. And today we are so lucky to have Stephanie Queen as our guest. She is a USA Today best-selling author. She is a romantic at heart and a writer by nature. So of course she loves creating stories where the good guy always wins. She writes the romantic detective series Beachcomber Investigations, set on Martha's Vineyard, and a small-town contemporary romance series, as well as other series and standalone novels. Since 2011, she's published 29 novels and novellas and counting. You can check all her books out at stephaniequeen.com. Although she's lost all count of all the jobs she had before settling on being a novelist, her favorite was selling cookies as a Keebler elf. She is a graduate of the University of Connecticut and has her master's in literature and creative writing from Harvard University. She lives in New Hampshire with her family and her cat Kitty. And Stephanie, you're welcome. We're so thrilled to have you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And the first time we met, I believe, was in 2012 at Sorvino's Vineyard, where we were doing a book signing. And we were sharing a table.
Yes.
The thing I remember about that, that was our first time meeting, right?
Yes, it was, but I had known about you before that.
Oh, this isn't.
She had heard of the Deborah Monk.
Oh, the Debbie Monk. Oh, do tell.
Yes, some of our mutual friends, Barb Wallace and Catherine Perry.
Yeah.
They talked about you in such glowing terms. Every time I would see them, they would bring up this Debbie Monk person. Oh,
really?
Debbie this, Debbie that. I'm like, who is this?
Interesting. Well, you must have been so impressed then when there we are sitting at our table, and as you were setting up your books and you were displaying them lovely. My book it was supposed to be available, which is why I had been signed up. So I didn't have a book at the book signing.
Oh.
My very first official book signing, and I don't have a book. So, a normal person would just not show up. But what I did was I made like 400 cookies, and I piled the cookies on the plate, and I had the postcards made of the cover.
So you improvised very well.
Yeah.
You're not going to miss out on that opportunity.
I'll be honest, though, I didn't sell a lot of books. Now, I have to admit.
Did you sell a lot of cookies?
I didn't sell them. They were given away.
Yes.
But I have to admit, since 2011, you've published 29 novels. My second book is about to come out. So if I were the type to go down, Comparison Alley, I would probably just jump off the bridge right now. How have you done 29 novels since 2011?
Well, I've always wanted to be a writer all my whole life. And so I have been preparing all that time. And so I was ready once I decided to take it very seriously and kind of downsize my career and job and focused on writing and publishing.
So apparently, girls, that's what we're doing. We're getting ready.
Yeah.
That's an important part, apparently. So we're 5 years from now, maybe between us, we'll have 29 books.
That's not even a fast pace in today's market.
This is how many? What's
I'm
that?
going
7 years
bridge.
ago?
That's not even a fast pace.
Seven in
Some of my friends, I have a lot of writer friends because I'm in a lot of writing communities.
Okay.
Some of them write a book a month. Oh. Because that's the new thing.
But that's their job. Is that their job? They're not selling, they're not dressing as the Keebler elf and selling cookies on the side. They're writing full time.
Right. Right, yes.
Wait, is that a thing? Can I dress as an elf and sell cookies?
Oh, this is why you're married to Deborah Monk. You want to dress as an elf and sell.
Apparently the Debbie Monk.
The Debbie Monk.
Oh, no, it's that Debbie Monk.
Oh,
that. That would imply that there's another, though.
Oh,
I don't think there is.
There probably is. I think there's an actress, Deborah Monk, but she spells Deborah different. But who cares? Okay, so let's get off that pace of a book a month, because none of us are going to do that.
Okay, I'm pulling myself back up the rope. I did jump off the bridge,
Listen,
but I'll
no,
come
we'll
back
get
and
in.
listen.
Yeah.
We'll get around to it. We'll
Okay.
get around to that.
All right, so I think, Shelley, you had a question you wanted to ask her.
Yeah, before I jump off the bridge.
Yeah.
So some of your friends are writing a book a month. You have written a lot of books in a short time in my world. When you hit a wall, how do you finish it?
Well, for me, deadlines are key. Deadlines will motivate me to do what I have to do. And I have been notorious for procrastination all my life. And why change now in writing? I write like probably half the book in the last couple of weeks of the deadline period. If I have 6 weeks, I'll write half the book in the last, so I will. But you do gain momentum, and so deadlines are my biggest motivation.
Who sets those
Yeah.
deadlines?
Either I am obligated because I'm contributing to a multi-author anthology, and there's an actual deadline, and other people are counting on you. Or I put it on pre-order on Amazon or the others, and you have a deadline because you've set it for yourself, and it's a real hard deadline that you've promised to put that book out there, and people are already buying it, so you need to finish it.
How far can you put a pre-order? Can it be like 13 months from now? It will be.
It's going to be like an elephant gestation.
Some platforms, I think Apple you can do a year, but on Amazon it's 90 days.
Okay, but you know what?
90 days.
Because we met yesterday, and Shelley really is. I don't know if you want to put it out there.
I hit a wall.
Oh, that too.
Yeah.
I
It was
meant that-
after we met. I was all on fire, and then I got home, and the brick wall came in hard and fast, which then followed by a headache, which then followed by the reality of all the other things that need to take up my time.
Right. Well, I do that too, and that's part of the procrastination problem I have. But I do have, I do note that for myself and for a lot of other writers that I've talked to, and I've talked to many, many, it's mostly because they don't know what to write next, and they need to work on their plot. Mostly, it's a preparation thing for that book. Preparation is key, and I've taken a lot.
That's a good question. Are you a plotter or a pantser?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to ask. So
Mandra, what's the question?
we did a show,
Yes.
plotter versus
Pantster.
pantster, and you're talking about sort of the two different. So where would you put yourself?
So most people are in between, and I'm in
hybrid.
between.
You are, okay.
And I do some plotting up front, but I never, I don't do like, I know Suzanne Brockman, she had like a 30-page notebook of detailed every single thing. I was like,
But she had that whole series with all those seals.
She was like a serious plotter. That's an extreme.
Okay.
And some
Is she
people
still
are like
writing?
Hannah, and some people are like Hannah Howell, who will just, I just start and I keep writing, and and I just to get to the end, and she just totally pantses everything. Most people are in between.
Okay.
I'm in between. I never seem to allow myself to plot the whole thing out ahead. I do some, obviously more of the beginning plotting and characterization you need to do. That's one of the things that stops me also, is not knowing my character well enough. But now I'm writing in a series, so that never happens because I have the same people, the same main characters.
Right.
It's very helpful. And but for everybody, even if you're a pantser, you can run into a block. And what I would suggest to pantsers is just to plot what they're going to write that day, as opposed to the whole book, maybe ahead of time before they sit down. And for everybody else, if you get stuck, then maybe you go back to your plot or your outline. I use plot and outline interchangeably because, that's what you outline as your plot.
Well, now that kind of brings up the thought of we're all right now kind of working on a memoir of some sort.
Sure.
And so when she says, get to know your character, how could we not know ourselves? We're writing about ourselves. But maybe it's for the memoir or the self-help or whatever vision we end up with. Maybe it's
outlining.
Well, maybe it's the message is what we're not totally clear of.
The theme, the outline. Outline is probably more appropriate if you're doing a memoir or a nonfiction than plot. Obviously, the outline is the plot for fiction, but the outline for a memoir isn't, is like the skeleton that keeps it together. The theme, the central theme that will hold the whole book together.
Kind of weave throughout.
And you have to have a beginning, middle, and end, even in a memoir. And I know I teach a writing class, and a couple of my students want to write memoirs, and I said, well, it's not my thing, I don't do it, but, you can approach it the same way as a novel. But the biggest problem for everybody writing a memoir is focus, because they know everything, and they know too much, and they need to focus it on something, some thread that will move it forward and culminate in some climax, and then have a resolution. And the resolution's probably the hardest part in a memoir, because you're still alive, right?
Right.
And you don't want to end when you're dead, so.
Great point. I never thought, I certainly know beginning, middle, and end, but I never really thought of that in terms of the memoir.
Right, you do need that.
Of course you do. You need that story arc.
Because it's still a snapshot of your life, so it's not your whole...
It is and it isn't. It's really like a thread of your life. Think of it that way. Okay. Your life has many, many threads, and ups and downs, you can call them, or whatever, and you have to pick something that will have a climax and a resolution, and that's illustrative of what it is you're trying to tell. You're still trying to tell a story. You're still trying to send a message of some kind, and you need to obviously know what that is first, and then pick that thread in your life which best illustrates, and then form it into this beginning, normal world, increasing conflict, complication, whatever, to climax and then resolution as best you can.
Wow.
Otherwise, people aren't going to read it, really. Then, it's just going to be boring.
Because I'm a fiction writer too, I absolutely know all of this stuff, but I never even, it never occurred to me to actually consciously do that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm taking notes, and I can listen to the show later. I don't need to write this down. I'm trying to write down every word. Oh, wait. That's what the point of the show is.
That's the preparation part for writing your book, is doing that.
See, I thought the preparation part of the memoir was actually living it. But I guess it's not actually.
It's pretty automatic. You can't not live it, right?
Right. That happens anyway.
Yeah.
Well, back to the business of writing. Mandra, do you want to ask your question, or shall I ask mine?
I'll jump in.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to ask about your thoughts on audience and finding your audience. And defining who that is.
Exactly.
We have good questions.
We
do.
It's great when people send them. Doesn't even sound scripted.
No.
Don't use that S word around Jonathan.
Well, for memoirs, you would be studying the market, i.e., like the top bestsellers in memoirs, for instance.
Okay.
And you would see what they are, what their themes are.
Wow,
you can't really see who your audience is in particular, but you might be able to go on Facebook and see who the audiences are for those kinds of books. Perhaps if you find out who the best-selling memoir author is, other than celebrities who are automatic sales.
I think, aren't I a celebrity, since you had heard about me?
that Deborah Monk?
Yes, you have a very niche audience, but
it's me and my mom. My mommy loves me. Hi, Mom.
So for any market, project, you need to know what's out there and that's selling really well. I look on Amazon because Amazon has the best search engine, and so it's easiest to research that way. But that's the thing you do. In whatever the genre is or that you're writing, you look at the top selling things. You get rid of the anomalies like, Danielle Steele, forget about her because she's whatever. And you would not.
She's that Danielle
She's
Steele.
Danielle Steele.
And
Harry Potter.
And forget Bill Cosby's memoir. You're not going to compare yourself to him. Whatever. All the outlying.
Isn't it called Behind Bars?
or O.J. Simpson, one of his memoir. You don't count that. But you look at the other the bestsellers in the genre who are not crazy, and you see what the subject matter is, and you might even take a look at the book. Obviously, reading some is always a good idea, and if you're writing memoirs, I assume you do read them.
Yes. Yeah. Why, yes, we do.
I didn't mean to take you by surprise there.
No, Danny Shapiro, I love her. I think Hourglass is her latest on the marriage. Loved it.
Okay. So then you have an idea of what the themes are and what makes a good memoir good, or have maybe some idea about that. And that gives you some insights to your market and what the expectation is for a good memoir that people want to read.
Now, how about for like the books that you write that aren't memoirs? How do you?
Right. I do the same thing. I write romantic suspense primarily, and so I have, I've looked at that market. I know what sells and what romance is just gigantic, and it's hugely competitive. There's a lot of sales in romance. It's like biggest quantity sales because people tend to read them fast, and like some people read a book a day in that genre, and they're just always
That's why you gotta
looking
turn
for
'em out.
new ones. I know. Well, if someone likes your reading, then yeah, that's
Yeah.
to your benefit is to have either a backlist or to be able
Something
to put them
ready,
out quickly. And that's apparently what people tend to do is if they find someone, they want to read all of their books. But, so I went on a romantic suspense search, and I see who's doing what and what it is, and there's a lot of psychological thriller, but I don't write that. There's also a lot of military type, SEALs and those kinds of things. That's more of my area. So you can, even within the genre, you find something that appeals to you, that's also got a really good sales, which is hard to find any area in romance that doesn't have really good sales. Almost. But if you write, what you have to do, this is the tricky part, is write down the center of that genre and knowing what the expectations are from the reader and giving them that. So that's the key for writing.
So when you say find something that appeals to you, as far as writing goes, you want to be able to find a way to kind of stay true to yourself as a writer.
Right.
If you pick something, Deb's not into action comedies, so she's not going to write a romance action comedy because that's not who she is.
Right. So within.
Whereas I, on the other hand, am a ninja. And
And you're going to write a romantic comedy?
romantic action comedy.
Oh, I'm so
Right.
sorry.
Hey, that's right up my alley. I like that.
If you need a cover model, he's available.
There you go.
Just give me a couple more weeks to work on my six-pack.
There you go. So we need the intersection of that market, center of the market as defined, and what your interest is. So within maybe memoirs, maybe there's a couple of different kinds of memoirs. Maybe the middle-aged woman memoir of how things went wrong versus I had a tragic childhood memoir. I'm just making things up.
Right.
And then you pick which one is more, and then you give them what that expectation is of that particular area.
Oh, there's so much more research we need to do. All right. What about discoverability in a world of finite shelf space?
Infinite shelf space.
Oh, infinite. Oh, I had infinite, and then I thought that was a mistake and erased high end.
Oh my goodness!
Infinite shelf
This is
space.
the problem. It's infinite shelf space in the virtual world of ebooks.
Oh.
Nothing ever goes out of print because it's never in print, and it's always available unless you take it off. And so, in the old days, you would have the bookstore with print books, and then the old books would disappear, giving room to new people, to new books, except for the classics, and obviously it's everybody's dream to be a classic. But so now, even in the genres, everything is always on the shelf, all the backlists
Wow.
for every author, and people keep adding more. So what that does for the reader is makes it impossible to discover unknowns with any regularity, or difficult, and it's your job as the relatively unknown author to make yourself discoverable by the reader.
And how do we do that?
I was going to say, and
Exactly.
how do you do that? I'm on the edge of my
I
seat.
know, me too. Pen is ready.
Oh, geez.
I have a blank page right here. Go.
Okay, you write a book every month. No.
Shelley's like, no.
That is one of the
I'm
reasons.
out.
Wasn't that our last meeting? No, I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to
Unfortunately,
hire a lot of
that's-
people to do all the other stuff.
Listen to me. That is one of the reasons why people are writing a book a month.
Is
Just to have
because it
that
helps
constant-
people
Be
get
discoverable, to stay in the algorithms, to be out, they have your name, so that right, and then you have your backlist and you have front list, and so you can build some more momentum that way. That is the reason, because no one wants to torture themselves writing one book a month. Normally, they also write shorter. By the
Right.
way, they're not going to write 100,000 word novel a month, but they might write 50, 60,000.
which is still a lot of words.
I write novellas. Sometimes.
How long? A novella is 30 to 50 or 20 to 50?
Oh, no, more like
10?
15 to 40.
Oh, 15,000 is
To
considered
40.
a novella?
Yeah, short stories are under 10,000 words.
15,000 is a novella?
15 to 40.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I do have a series novella concept that I've been percolating for 15 years. So, it must be coming out 10 years from
But
now.
aren't we seeing more of that
Well-
anyway with the book shots and the
Yeah.
I wonder if
Sure.
that
I had that idea, just for the record. I had that bookshot idea. I have proof. Denise, Denise Egan, Barb Wallace,
yeah.
Nina, all of us are in a writing group, and I said, I think this is the way it's going. This is what should be done. And about a year later, James Patterson came out with his bookshot. So as far as I'm concerned, he did my market research for me. Thank you, James.
But he put it in print, crazily enough.
You don't think that was a good idea?
Well, it's silly for a small book like
Really?
that, I think.
Well, we've both bought them.
Well, right, because you're in the business.
Huh.
No? You like James Patterson?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
James, apparently Stephanie doesn't like you so much, but we here at the Writer's Block really like you, so feel free.
Well, if you're his fan, obviously it's a good
You don't
thing.
like James Patterson?
I'm not a
Or,
fan.
well, really?
No.
Oh my gosh, we'll talk about this after the show.
Okay.
But just speaking back about our friends, like
It is
James,
okay to be on the Writer's Block podcast and not
Oh, absolutely. We don't
James
like
Patterson.
everybody.
It's
yeah.
okay, Steph. Yeah.
No.
And
I don't like Danielle Steele either, so it's
yeah, I
all
don't
right.
I'm not crazy about her.
I'm sure they're lovely people. It's their
Yeah.
writing. I'm sure I should specify.
And they don't care what we think. They're sitting in their mansion saying, we really don't care what you girls think.
I'm the anomaly, I'm sure.
But just for one moment, just speaking of our friends, our writing friends, because we're that cool. Suzanne Brockman, you mentioned her a minute ago. She's one of my favorite. She did that Seals. I think she was one of the first to do the series, So Heavy.
Yes.
She rocked that thing.
Yes.
People were dying for Sam's story to come out. But I haven't really seen any new books from her lately. Or is it just that
They're
discoverability
lost
thing?
in the shuffle. I'm serious.
Suzanne
Even-
Brockman's getting lost in the shuffle? Oh, there's no hope for us.
Yes, I'm serious. Even established authors are having discoverability issues because there are so many competing authors and books.
Well, with ebooks, it's not like you can pass a book off to somebody. So you could we'll use James Patterson as an example. You could have a James Patterson book you
Right.
really liked, and you hand it to someone and say, here, read this. And now they go out and buy 3 more
Right.
books. You have
And
that
we've done
sampling
that. We've
effect.
traded the book shots we had.
So you can't pass off an ebook. So you buy it and you read it.
And you don't tell
You
anybody
may
about
have
it.
a conversation with somebody, but you may not, and that ebook just stays in your e-reader.
Oh, that's a good point. Wow.
Well, there's such competition. It's ridiculous. And also, for Suzanne Brockman and other authors who are traditionally published, they have a price point that is really a lot higher than independent authors.
But as they should, they're proven. Like, I know if I get a Suzanne Brockman, I know what I'm getting, and I know I'm going to like it. So I don't mind paying
Which brings me
more.
to my point.
Okay.
For the undiscovered, unknown author, they price it
Oh, this is going to hurt.
low.
Oh, yeah.
But they still make good money because they're keeping all the profits. So,
Well,
so
not
if I
all.
Listen to me. If I make 35 cents on a novel, it's probably about the same or even more than on an ebook than a traditionally published author would make on their ebook.
Okay, say that again. Did you guys
Yeah.
get that? Okay, say that again.
Because even though my book may be priced lower, I keep a much higher percentage of the profit. So it's not a bad thing for me.
That you're
to have a
lower
lower
priced,
price.
you mean, I see.
Right.
Versus the traditionally published author who's keeping a percentage of a percentage of a percentage.
Right, because the pie is being split by so many
Right.
people,
Right.
the
You know,
publisher
the
and the
distributor gets a
agent.
piece, then the publisher gets a piece, and then the
Agent.
and the agent, and then the author finally gets their little piece, and
Yeah.
it's going to be
What's left.
it's going to end up being the same or less.
So when you say you price your books lower, what do you price your books at?
So my books are priced, if it's a short novella, it'll be like 99 cents, and I have a multi-book set that's $4.99, and mostly they're $3.99
Okay.
for ebooks,
So-
which is low price compared to Suzanne Brockman's ebook is going to be like $8.99 or something like that if it's traditionally published,
Ooh.
or $7.99, and so readers are willing to try a new author
For
if they think
99
if
cents.
it's an intriguing blurb,
Right.
and
Good cover.
a good cover,
Yep.
and they'll say, "Oh, maybe I'll try the Suzanne Brockman later. I'm going to try this person over here," and then they might like that person.
Right. And that's a good
So-
price point.
so
and
Established authors, especially if they are still traditionally published, are having to compete with
Oh,
more people,
Right.
and the new people are competitive because they have not everybody is self-published, but there's a lot of new people who are, because ever since 2011, I think the more people are self-published than
It became
than
available, an
traditionally.
option.
It's
Before that,
like
it really
something,
wasn't.
It's just a lot more, right?
Right, and so Suzanne Brockman can't lower her price in a
unless
way.
unless she's self-published.
Right,
Right.
because she has to split the pie up so many ways. Interesting. Boy,
Oh, she sells a lot more books though.
well,
than
there's
I do.
that.
Yeah, she gets an advance, although the advances are lower than they used to be because of the competition with the independent market. In romance, the indie market has really cut into the traditional market by huge numbers, which is why we know Harlequin is kind of
Struggling. Wow.
cutting back.
that's what
in
we're
there.
hearing when we
No,
ask.
you don't have to hear. It's true.
Right. But that's, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we asked this question, indie versus traditional, and that's kind of the same answer.
There, obviously in the romance market, it's very viable. Not sure about the memoir market at
Right.
all, if it's a thing.
Women's fiction, how about that?
I wish I knew. I have a women's fiction book, and I don't know. I haven't finished
Oh,
it because
and-
I don't know what to do for marketing at all. That's
Oh, I've got an idea. Be in a
Yes.
video with me.
okay.
Coming soon. Stephanie and Debbie are going to be doing a video.
Okay. here we
Ethel and
go.
Lucille. That's all the
Yes,
hint we're going
I'll
to give
be
you for
at it.
today.
Great. Well, this has been wonderful. It's been great to have you on our podcast, Stephanie, and answered all our questions. It's great to have a live person.
Yes.
Isn't it
Yeah.
nice, ladies?
I
Have
love
a live
that.
person up here. It's wonderful. So we want to thank you all for listening. Please check out the Writer's Block NH on Facebook and the Writer's Block podcast on Podbean, iTunes, or your favorite podcast catcher. May you be inspired, feel empowered, and be well.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.